What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be ranking all 91 brawlers in the game right now, all the way from the very worst all the way up to the very best in a tier list. So I've had the help from none other than the world champions himself, from Humble Boss, Lukey and Semantic. I'll put all the links in the description. Go check them out on all of their socials. Of course, they are the GOATs. They've helped me out with this tier list just because I've been a little bit busier with moving out and stuff. I feel like I've got a good understanding of the meta though. I don't think too much actually changed from my list and then getting feedback from themselves. So we've got a really solid tier list, and you literally won't get a more accurate tier list on the internet. So make sure to subscribe for all future content on the channel. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So F tier, we're starting off with Doug, and yeah, Doug is Doug. The only other brawler joining Doug in the F tier is Sam. His hype charge is pretty broken, but you basically never get the hype charge in a game. Without it, is absolutely terrible, so you can't even get it in most pro matches. He's basically unusable right now. Now I'm going to be moving on to the D tier brawlers. So most of these are just not the greatest in the meta. They've probably only got a couple of use cases, and we're going to start off in the D tier with Clancy. So I wanted to put him in the F tier, but just because his hype charge is really strong, I'm going to put him in the bottom of the D tier. But still, as a standalone brawler, Clancy is absolutely awful. He's only good against multiple tanks, so at least he has a bit of a use case. Next up we have Ems. So Ems hasn't really received many buffs in the last year or so, and she still remains D tier in the meta. Never seen in pro play. I think the only time you use her was to counter Poco, and now Poco isn't the greatest in the meta. Ems just is never seen. The same goes for Bull. It's the same story because he's just been bad in the meta for years now. He's only good in heist on those base race maps like Hot Potato. Outside of that, he's basically unusable. Still we have Chuck. So at least Chuck is really good in heist, but outside of heist, he's absolutely unbearable. He's so bad, and with the heist rework as well, he hasn't got a lot worse, but he definitely has suffered a little bit because of his rework. Next one in detail, we have Rosa, and Rosa's fall off needs to be studied. I feel like she's a brawler that's gone under the radar, and she's just not seen anywhere, even in Brawl, bushy maps. She just gets outpowered and outclassed. Next one in detail, we have a BB. So again, another brawler that's only really good in heist, and still she's just only good as a niche pick. Basically, she's just a walking super totem because she has such little range. She can never close the gap onto good players. The remaining D tier is Grom. A lot of people thought Grom's hype charge would be good and it impact him in the meta. Yeah, I was right. It didn't impact him whatsoever, even months go on, because his basic attack is so hard to hit. Against noobs, he's really good. Against pros, he's never seen. Remaining in the D tier is Fang. Ever since they nerfed his hyper charge rate heavily, he basically never gets a hyper charge in pro play, and still was just such better assassins in the meta. He's just never seen and hasn't been seen for a very long time. So we have Shelly. So Shelly's only really good into tanks. Against any other brawler down the lane, she's really going to suffer. So you only really see her in Brawl. In detail, we have Edgar. So Edgar, again, the meta's not really going to be helping him out whatsoever. Hasn't received any buffs. Only good in heist. Outside of that, he's terrible. And in detail is Gale. So Gale, the hyper charge rate nerf absolutely killed this brawler, as I predicted. Everybody now is realizing just how bad Gale is. He's only really good on more open maps, surprisingly, because of his slow star power. Outside of that, you just basically don't use him because he's terrible even into tanks. Next up we have Colt. So Colt is only really good in heist. In heist, he's probably like an A tier brawler, but since the heist rework has actually impacted him a lot, and he's got even worse in that game mode. So if he's not even the greatest in heist, he's absolutely unusable elsewhere. He really has fallen off. So we have Jessie. So Jessie received one of the smallest buffs you'll ever see, and it's not really done anything to her in the meta. Surprise. She's really fallen off. Even at low level, I don't even see that many people insta-lock Jessie anymore. So she's terrible at low ranks, terrible at high ranks, not usable. Next up we have Ruffs. So Ruffs has just been awful for a long time now, and I probably would say he's in a D tier right now. He just doesn't have the damage to keep up with any sort of aggression, and his hyper charge was so hyped up. I thought it was going to be really good, but it just turns out that it's just awkward to use. Next up in the D tier we have a Meg. So you could argue that she's low C tier because some pros in NA seem to go a little bit of Meg, but me personally, I just don't think she's good whatsoever. Hyper charge is probably the best thing about her. Outside of that, I just think she's too easy of a kill. And lastly in the D tier we have a Crow. So Crow received a small buff to his anti-healing, but let's face it, that's really not done anything. The healers at the top of the meta just aren't really as good as they used to be. Maybe in a real big healer meta a couple of metas ago, Crow would have been better, but if anything, it's got worse, especially since the heist rework. Now I'm going to be moving on to your C tier brawlers. So most of these brawlers are pretty balanced, or just a little bit worse than balanced, but they're going to be good in a lot of different situations. So starting off with Willow. So Willow recently received a hypercharge. The hypercharge super itself isn't anything flashy. flashy, but at least the stat boosts are pretty good. You can get hypercharge pretty quickly with her, so I think she's appeared a lot more in the Brawl meta, maybe Hot Zone, etc., but she's still not good enough to make a big impact in the meta. So we have Maisie, so nothing's really changed about Maisie. If anything, she could be in the D tier, and she has been for a very long time. NA overrated her some metas ago, but she's always been terrible. She's just so hard to hit the main attack. It doesn't matter how much damage it deals, it's not good enough. Next up, we have Penny, so another brawler whose fall off needs to be studied, because she used to be the top picked brawler like 4 months plus ago. Then the hypercharge rate nerf really did kill Penny off. You just don't really see her anywhere. There's just better options in pretty much every single situation. She's only really good in Hot Zone. Another brawler who's fallen off is Mr. P. Mr. P's hypercharge basically killed him. He is not good whatsoever anymore. The hypercharge just isn't good. By the time it even gets to an opponent, it's just completely decayed, and it's so easy to take down. It doesn't have the pressure that he once used to have. Mr. P is completely dead. So on the C tier, we have Surge, so another brawler who's really not the greatest in the meta. The only time pros really play Surge is on like Gem Fort, and that's even a stretch. He's not even that good into tanks right now because he's super squishy. His hype charge isn't as good as it used to be as well. Surge has fallen off. He's not used anymore. So we have Leon, so another brawler I would say goes under the radar a little bit, does deserve a little bit more hype in game modes like Bounty, etc., to counter those snipers, but for the most part, he's probably a bit too risky to play, and he's just average everywhere. Spike is next, so another brawler that's just pretty much average everywhere, but there still has been an improved use case for Spike in game modes like Heist, because of maps like Pit Stop, Hot Potato, where a Spike on the safe can just delete it in an instance with popping pin cushion, and Fertilize is decent. Outside of that, is too easy to kill. Charlie is next in the C tier, and Charlie in the APAC region is like an A tier brawler. You've seen in the last monthly finals, they spammed a lot of Charlie, but I think they're heavily overrating her, mainly because her Spider's gadget isn't even that good anymore. She's like okay into most matchups, you know, maybe she's a brawler going under the radar a little bit, but she's not the old Charlie that we all love. C tier, we have Eve. So Eve is normally one of those brawlers where a brawler like Angela and Juju are banned on like, I don't know, safe zone or something like that. Maybe Eve can just be a good cleanup brawler. She's just average. She's just good into some things, but she never has like a lasting impact on the game. It's just, there's not really many counters to Eve, but then she doesn't counter anything else. She's just one of those brawlers that just exists. Next up, we have Sprout. So Sprout will always be at least decent in the meta because he counters those squishy brawlers in Bounty and Knockout. But outside of that, he really struggles, and he's still not as good in those game modes as he used to be. So when I see tier, we have Shade. So Shade's one of those brawlers that's heavily underrated when it comes down to a late pick in ranked, but it really takes the right player to make Shade work. If it's like Tampo playing Shade, he looks like an S tier brawler, but we can clearly see in pro games he's just not used that often. But you've got to play it perfectly, and if you do, Shade is actually a good brawler. Next up, we have Rico. So Rico is still one of the most played brawlers in the game right now, but that doesn't mean he's one of the best brawlers. His hypercharge rate was a heavy nerf to him. Also, his gadget nerfs have definitely caught up to him. He's only really good on a select few maps, maybe on like Brawl, but just find him too easy to kill right now. This is next in the C tier, so he's just on the cushion of being a balanced brawler. If anything, just on the weaker side a little bit. He's still really good and impactful on the map because of his hypercharge, but normally there is a better option. Dynamite is next, and the gadget rework, I wouldn't say killed Dynamite, but definitely made him a lot less of a viable option, because before you could just spam out the stun gadget. Now he's a lot more vulnerable to any assassins, any aggro. His hypercharge is still really good though. Next up, we have El Primo. So El Primo is just good because he's always going to be a good counter to those other tanks if you need some aggression yourself as well. So if you're looking to counter like Frank or just some other high tanks in the meta, then of course Primo is your guy. Good in Heist, good in Brawl. He's just okay. Next one to see here, we have Brock. So another brawler that's a lot better in the lower ranks. I'd say Brock is an okay brawler because you can always somewhat pick him in Heist later on in the draft. He's like okay in Knockout and some Bounty maps, and he's good at just opening up the map as well. But more often than not, you open up the map and other snipers can counter you, so he's not the best. Next one to see here, we have Nanny. So if we're talking about Bounty and Knockout, but super open maps, and Nanny is like S tier or A tier, but just because you can't really play Nanny outside of that, you know, before you used to be able to play Nanny in Heist, other game modes, but you just can't really do that right now. So you only use Nanny to hyper counter a couple of snipers like Mandy, like Piper, Byron, etc. on maps like Shooting Star. I'm going to see here we have Lola. So Lola's hypercharge is just so bad. It doesn't do anything. It actually does nothing really. It looks cool. but it takes forever to charge, and it doesn't even do anything on the map. It just dies straight away, so it's not really helped her in the meta. Next on the C tier, we have Jackie. So if we're talking about maybe NA and a few other regions, they probably overrated Jackie a little bit in the last monthly finals. I think she definitely has appeared a lot better in the meta because she's a good counter to certain brawlers on certain maps. You know, for example, like Ollie, on maps like Gemfort, she can be a bit of a nuisance, but outside of that, I still think she's not the greatest and just too easy to pinch. Next on the C tier, we have Draco. So Draco, of course, fell off because of the gadget rework, so he's been stuck in the C tier for a couple of months now. It just takes far too long for him to just use that broken gadget, but still, he does have the use case in Hot Zone, and if you pair him with a support brawler, he can pop off. Next on the C tier, we have Cordelia. So I've actually demoted him from the B tier because I'm just not really seeing Cordelius whatsoever right now. He's only used to counter maybe cheesy kit compositions, or if you're looking to counter a couple of aggressive brawlers, then in a 1v1 he can be really, really strong. But I just don't really see much Cordelius anymore, so I think we've got to talk about him dropping off a lot now. And lastly in the C tier, we have Miko. So we could easily put Miko in the B tier thanks to his reload speed buff. It's definitely helped him out a lot in the meta. You see him a lot more in Heist. You just see him as a late pick, maybe in Gem Grab, as that type of assassin. The only thing that's not really going for Miko is he hasn't got the greatest of hypercharges, but in a 1v1, he's much stronger now thanks to his buff. So now we're going to be moving on to your B tier brawlers. So typically these are just a bit better than average, and they can be used on multiple game modes. So starting off with Barley. So I'd say he's on the cusp of C tier here personally, just because, you know, Barley used to be always the go-to brawler when we're talking about Hot Zone and on certain maps in Brawl, you know, in Heist, etc. But I'm just starting to see him being counted a little bit more frequently. But still, Barley is a good option if you're looking for a throw. And the same has to go for the twins as well. They're just on the cusp of C tier in my opinion, because they're not really being played too much. I mean, once the twins get a hypercharge, they probably will go back to the S tier, but right now they just don't really have too much of an impact on the game. Next up, we have Otis. So I wanted to put Otis in a C tier, but then Semantic said a good use case for him is for countering brawlers like Kenji. Kenji is such a broken brawler in the meta, so Otis has just got a bit better because of that in gamers like Gem Grab and Brawl. Otis is always underrated because with the vision gear and the gadget, it can hold off pretty well, and of course the hypercharge as well just hyper counters those tanks. Next up in the beta, we have Mortis. So Mortis is still such a good late pick in ranked. His hypercharge is still just fundamentally broken. It's just a team wipe machine. It doesn't matter if it takes you nearly the whole game to get your hypercharge. Once you get it, you can just change the game on its head completely. So he's just a good late pick everywhere outside of Heist. Next up in the beta, we have Bonnie. So I know I overrated Bonnie a little bit with the rework. I was just excited, okay, because Bonnie was useless for the longest time. I've still not had the most time to test out Bonnie and not really seen enough tournament gameplay, but I think Bonnie is a good brawler. She's good in knockout, good in bounty, and the great thing about her is, you know, she can farm super from the tanks or just other brawlers that get close to her. Then she can jump onto the throwers and the snipers. That makes a really good option. She can just revert back into cannon form straight away. She's good in Heist as well. Just think she's just above average in the meta. And the same goes for Pam as well. These two brawlers got some of the biggest buff with the balance changes a couple of weeks ago, and it was a big damage buff with Pam, and it's definitely helped her a lot in the meta. The problem is the map pool isn't the kindest to Pam, and she's just above average in most places. But I think people might be sleeping on Pam personally because that damage buff was so big. But then again, she hasn't got a hypercharge, whilst most of the brawlers in the game, pretty much all of them have one now. So that definitely does hurt her case in the meta. Next up in the beta, we have Kit. So Kit will always be super annoying in the meta thanks to the way that he works with his healing. You just pair him with any type of tank and knockout and bounty, and he's basically unkillable whilst on top of someone. So he's always good in those two game modes. So it'll always at least remain in the B tier for me. Next up in the B tier, we have Sandy. So Sandy's just a pretty good brawler when we're talking about Gem Grab, Brawl, and Hot Zone. You can never really go wrong with Sandy in some instances, and especially because the hypercharge is still pretty good. Most of the time, I'm seeing other lane options, but I think Sandy could be slept on a little bit there. Next up, we have Nita. So Nita has fallen down the meta just a little bit. That is because there's just so many better lane options right now in the meta. But if you're looking to counter certain tanks or in Heist be a big threat with a bear, then Nita is the person for it because you can deal so much damage. And the fact that the hypercharge only charges in 2 supers, you can just chain them so easily still. So Mo is next in the B tier. And I actually want to put Mo in the C tier. Maybe I underrated him a little bit, but literally all 3 of the pros just said straight away Mo is easily in the B tier, and that is because Mo is quite versatile, right? He charges super quite quickly thanks to the gadget rework. You can just spam the gadget that gives you the extra supercharge, and then you can just super onto any of those squishy brawlers and get a free kill every single time. I just think he's versatile. You can play him in Brawl, Gem Grab, Hot Zone, and it's always a use case for him there. Next up in the beta, we have Lily. So Lily's hypercharge has definitely helped her a lot in the meta, and it's mainly because of those 1v1 interactions. It's not nothing flashy, and you're not going to get a ton of T-wipes with it, but just because the pure damage you can deal with it is insane. And it's because normally tanks would counter Lily, but with this hypercharge, you can just rip through tanks. Takes a little while to get, but thanks to her charge in circle, she can get it pretty quickly. And she's just a good option, whether it be Heist, whether it be Gem Grab, Brawl. She can be really annoying still with the Vanish gadget. Next, in the beta, we have Squeak. So Squeak has dropped down 1 tier, mainly because I'm not really seeing him used as much in most situations. I used to be able to play him in Brawl, Gem Grab, probably a bit too risky unless it's a late pick. So he's good against squishier options as a late pick. And then in Knockout and Bounty, he's still a valid option because the wind-up gadget is still really strong and super annoying. Next up, we have Byron. So if we're talking about use rate in competitive, and Byron probably is like a C-tier brawler in the meta, but I just think he's a little bit underrated and a little bit underappreciated because he's still a decent brawler that can cycle super quite effectively. His booster shots gadget is still pretty annoying as well. You can play him in Gem Grab, Hot Zone, Brawl. He just pairs with so many brawlers still that are at the top of the meta. Next one to beat it, we have Meeple. So Meeple received a slight damage nerf, and it definitely impacted him a little bit in the meta. Before, a couple of months ago, you could play Meeple as the first pick and just absolutely dominate. There was hardly any counters. Now people are starting to realize a few of the counters. A few of those lane brawlers will take like an extra shot to kill now. So Meeple fallen down a bit. Next up in the beta, we have Colette. So Colette didn't really get nerfed too much from the Heist rework. So she's still going to be one of the best brawlers in Heist. And then again, if you're looking to hyper fixate and counter those tanks, then Colette's always going to be a good brawler because of that. The hyper charge is really good. The gotcha gadget to heal up as well, really good. So she's always going to be stuck in the beta. Next up, we have 8-bit. So 8-bit is just pretty decent in a few situations. So whether you're looking for a damage dealer in Heist, it's really good with the booster star power, which is the better one, even in Gem Grab as well. So a lot of people play him in Gem Grab because he's one of the few mids that's quite tanky, so he's quite safe and doesn't die too often as a gem carrier, but he's also good into those tanks as well, whilst most other mids are quite vulnerable. So I feel like 8-bit will always have a decent spot in the meta because of that. Next one to beta, we have a Tick. So Tick is just always going to be really annoying in Knockout and Bounty. Again, I will say it just seems like every meta that goes on, it gets a little bit worse just because it's a bit more predictable and his hype charge isn't the greatest. So I think eventually probably go down to the C tier. Next one to beta, we have Poco. So Poco's definitely fallen down a few tiers. The gadget nerfs have definitely caught up to him. He's still like a solid option. You probably won't see it as much in ranks because there's no hot zone, so he's good in hot zone still decent as a gem carry in most instances. But because brawlers like Ollie aren't as dominant in the meta anymore, there's not as much as a use case for Poco anymore. Next one to beta, we have Mandy. So Mandy is still super annoying in the meta, one of the best brawlers in Bounty and Knockout because of that hypercharge. I don't think it got nerfed right, so she's still a really solid option in the meta, but outside of that, she's not really the best. So beta is where she's at. Next up in the beta, we have a Piper. So probably overrated a little bit in the last tier list. I think A tier is too kind to her because she's really good in Knockout and Bounty, but still in those two game modes, there's normally a better option, especially in pro play. Players know how to counter the Piper, whether it be Nanny, whether it be brawlers like Gray, Max, or just any type of aggression on the map button. In certain maps, she can still be really dominant. A good thing about Piper, you can still play her in that Gem Grab, any open map, Heist as well. It's just down to the user. A good Piper can make a look at S tier. Next one in the beta, we have RT. So RT's dropped down the meta just a little bit in my opinion. I just don't think he's as solid as a pick as he used to be. He's still a really good brawler. I just think outside of Knockout and Bounty, you don't really see him as much anymore. But if anything, he's like high beta. Next one in beta, we have Frank. So he's definitely dropped down the meta a little bit here. He's going to go into the beta from the A tier. That is thanks to just a lot of brawlers receiving hyper charges now that can just farm off the Frank. And normally with Frank, you could just go him into low DPS compositions. Well, a lot of those brawlers that he used to counter have got hyper charges that can just help him, will help kill him a lot easier. You're seeing some support brawlers that can deal a lot of damage now. It's just not as good as he used to be. Next up in the B tier, we have Pearl. So she's at the high B tier because she's always one of these underappreciated brawlers where she'll always get played a lot when it comes down to the nitty gritty end of tournaments, whether it be Bounty, Knockout, etc. But then outside of that, there's not really many places you can play her. Next up in the B tier, we have Ash, another brawler that's dropped down from the A tier, mainly because you just don't see him played as frequently anymore. Mainly because there's so many meta brawlers that just counter him and farm off him a little bit too much. But still, he farms for his hyper charge pretty quickly. Whether you're playing Brawl or Gem Grab on a bushy map, you can still have a good impact on Ash. And the good thing about him is even some brawlers that counter him like Surge or just other tank counters, he can win that matchup with his rats. Next up in the B tier, we have Daryl. So Daryl's always a good brawler in the meta, thanks to his rework not too long ago, where he has 2 supers instead of 1. So it's going to make him just forever a decent option, whether it be in Heist. He's actually really good late pick in Heist right now. He's been played everywhere, safe zone, any map like that. He could just roll over the water pretty safely. And he's really good late on the draft in Knockout as well, because you can farm your Hypercharge for free. Outside of that, I don't really see him. So lastly in the B tier, we have Tara. So if we're talking gem grab, she's probably near the S tier. She's so good because you can charge Hypercharge so quickly. But outside of that, I mean, Brawl, she's okay. And then when you look at other game modes, she gets weaker and weaker. So it's hard for me to make a case for her to be above the B tier. But she's definitely getting better. I'm starting to see a lot more Tara. So now we're going to be moving on to your A tier Brawlers. So these are going to be some of the best Brawlers in the game. And in particular game modes, they're going to completely dominate. So we're going to be starting off with Melody. So she's on the bottom of the A tier because she's starting to get a little bit worse now. Because the Hypercharge takes a long time to get. But still, the right Melody player can just absolutely pop off. She's so broken in Heist, really good in Brawl. More open maps, she's just going to be able to dominate. And still, the Hypercharge itself is broken, so she's still really good in the meta. Next, in the A tier, we have Finks. So I think Finks is like a steady B tier brawler, but pretty much all of the pros said straight away Finks is an A tier brawler. That is probably thanks to his super just being really good. But the good thing about Finks is that he's actually a good counter to some brawlers you might not think. So, for example, if a Dynamite super is coming, you can just pop your gadget and rewind. If just any sort of damage is coming, you could just tap your gadget and just go back in time and regain your ammo as well. So if Assassin's coming your way, you can spam out all 3 pieces of ammo, gadget, and then you have another 3 pieces of ammo instantly. That's just such a broken aspect about him. He's just decent into a lot of things. In Hot Zone, of course, he's really broken. He's good in Brawl, he's good in Gem Grab, and you do see him used in other instances as well. That super is just an automatic win. Next minute 8 we have Gus. So Gus's impact in the meta has gone up just a tiny bit. His Hypercharge isn't anything special, but it's still a Hypercharge on a support brawler. That's definitely going to help him out against Assassins. It's not the craziest thing in the world, but it does charge it up pretty quickly. He's still going to be good in Knockout, Bounty, good as a gem carrier. He's not in the previous peak that he used to be in previous metas, but he's still a lot better thanks to his Hypercharge. Next minute 8 we have Stu. So the recent nerf to his Hypercharge probably has made him nearly a B tier brawler, if I'm honest. It takes a long time to farm his Hypercharge, but he's still such a versatile brawler and so good in 1v1s thanks to his gas heal star power. I just find it really hard to put him in the B tier. I can't do it, guys. Next minute 8 we have Bell, and when you always look at the statistics to monthly finals throughout years and years, Bell is always in the top 15, top 10 picks because she's just so hard to counter in the draft. She's just good into everything. It's just all down to the user. She's good into tanks. She's just good on those longer range maps. She's good on Heist, Bounty, Knockout, Gem Grab as a gem carrier. So I don't know, so much versatility with Belle. How can you not like her? Next minute 8 we have a Bo, and I'm glad to say I was one of the few people that said Bo was so underrated in the last meta, and now he's got even better and didn't even receive a buff a couple of weeks ago. Thanks to his Hypercharge, it's really elevated him to a new level. So he's one of the best brawlers in Heist because his super can just deal so much damage. His Hypercharge can just deal 25+% instantly with Tripwire activated. So he's one of the best Heist brawlers. He's really good in Gem Grab because you could just spam out mines like crazy and the opponents just forget where they are. He's good in other game modes as well. Hot Zone. He's just so versatile. How can you not like Bo? Next minute 8 I went with Gray. So in the previous meta, he absolutely was S tier. Pros were abusing him even in Gem Grab, etc. But I think now with the meta changing a little bit, he's just dropped down to A tier. He's still really good in Knockout and Bounty, even with the Walking Cane gadget nerf. I mean, it has impacted him a little bit. You can definitely feel it, but still the gadget itself is so broken. He goes for Hypercharges pretty quickly. Still such a solid option. Next minute 8 I went with Berry. So he's going under the radar like crazy right now. If you guys didn't know, 2 balance changes ago, he was supposed to be nerfed in his main attack healing. I think it was 10%, 15. I can't remember. It was above 10%, which really did impact him in the meta. And then there was a bug that reverted this nerf, and this is what it's at right now. He's the same old Berry that was S tier and broken a couple of metas ago, and people aren't realizing he's such a good brawler in Hot Zone, Gem Grab, Brawl. He farms through super and Hypercharges so fast. Next minute 8 we have Buster. So thanks to his Hypercharge, he's definitely got a lot better. He received a slight HP nerf, which really didn't do anything. Buster's so good in Knockout, Bounty, any slow-paced game mode. He can farm his Hypercharge for free just by standing next to his teammates. His gadget is still so busted. He's still easily an A tier brawler. Next minute 8 we have Lou. So Lou is still such a meta brawler, especially last monthly finals. He's in the top 10 usage rate, so just going to show how much of a great counter pick he is to those tanks. He's always going to be good in hot zone. If you look for a defensive brawler in heist, he's going to be your guy, mainly because his hypercharge is just such a good shutdown to those assassins and tanks. They just can't do anything into a loop. Next, 18, we have Juju. So Juju has forever been in the top 15, top 10 brawlers in the game ever since her release. She's just so versatile as a thrower that can just outrange so many different brawlers, that has a super that can defend herself against assassins and tanks, a gadget that is so broken that can go invisible, give a shield, etc. Juju's just good everywhere. Jean is next in the A tier. So for most people, they won't actually think Jean is that good, but in terms of pro play, he's always in the top 15 in terms of ban and pick rate in monthly finals, because he's so good at knockout and bounty, and thanks to the gadget rework, he can spam out his vengeful spirit gadget even more, confirming a lot more kills and getting more pressure. He's good in gem grab as a gem carrier. He's always going to be good because with vision gear, he can just be so OP on maps like double swoosh, for example. And then again, he can pair really well with so many different brawlers with his magic puff star power. Janet is next in the A tier, and Janet is always going to be a strong brawler as long as they don't completely butcher her hypercharge. Her hypercharge is one of the best in the game. It's just guaranteed a kill every single time. And then in other situations, she's just decent in most matchups. She's got a decent amount of HP. Her gadget can be really annoying. On those bushy maps, she's going to be really good as well. In gem grab, she's probably the best brawler. In other cases, she's starting to get countered a little bit more, but she's still one of the best. Next, in the A tier, we have Carl. So since his gadget damage nerf, it has toned him down a little bit. It's not just every single time you see someone, they're just dead no matter what anymore. Now it's like, oh, there's some good damage, but you still got to finish off the kill a lot of time with a super. His hypercharge is still pretty fast charging, so you can cycle through it quite effectively and confirm some good kills. But outside of that, Carl definitely has seen a bit of a drop in play rate. Angelo's next in the A tier. Angelo's such a good brawler in this meta. He's really good in heist, knockout, and bounty. And just because he can deal so much damage when you pierce through walls, he's just such a good asset. So next in the A tier, we have Amber. So this is more of a prediction. Her hypercharge has only been out 1 or 2 days by now. So her hypercharge is completely, utterly busted, but it does take quite a while to charge up to it. But once you do get it, it's basically an automatic team wipe. She was starting to fall down the meta previously in like the B tier, not being picked so often, but now I feel like she can be such a good brawler again in hot zone, in heist, in Brawl, and gem grab. It's mainly her versatility. She's just good into everything, and the hypercharge has helped her bring her back to the top of the meta again. So next up in the A tier, we have Griff. So I'm going to predict that it might be low S tier, but I'm going to say high A tier for now, to speaking to a couple of the pros. I've not tried him out too much, but his hypercharge is so broken. It's completely and utterly busted. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 3 brawler in the game. That is kind of my prediction, but I'm going to play it safe and put him in the top of A tier, because the problem with Griff that I did face, if you see my second channel video, is that against the tougher matchups, it's going to be hard to get his hype charge. But then again, all you need is one hype charge super in the game, and you can just team wipe with ease. His super just goes through walls and deals insane damage. It's just absolutely ridiculously broken. But again, if you're not got a favorable matchup, you're never going to get the hypercharge. And lastly, in the A tier, we have Max. So Max, again, is on the cusp of S tier, because some of her better counters have been dropping down in the meta, like Poco, for example. But Max is always one of the most versatile brawlers and always one of the most played brawlers for pro players, mainly because Max is just good into everything and also good with everything on your team. So a brawler that hardly has any counters, and some of the top meta counters, like Frank, like Poco, have dropped down in meta. It's actually made Max even better, and the hypercharge is the main reason why she's so broken. It just gives you map control instantly. All 3 of you group up in the same position. You all get 75% of your super. You all just get sped up for so much. In Brawl, it's just equals a goal. Gem grab it equals control, etc. Max is so good in the meta. So now I'm going to be moving on to your S tier brawlers. So these are the best brawlers in the game. You can pretty much play them anywhere, and once you get your hands on them, you can just tell instantly that they're so powerful. So starting off in the S tier with Ollie. So he's dropping down the meta just a little bit, mainly because a lot of tank counters are starting to get hypercharges and become a lot better in the meta. But still, Ollie's just going to be infinitely good because he's a tank that can dash forward, that can jump over walls, that's just got so much about him. He's one of the tankiest brawlers in the game still. He can just make a play whilst other tanks struggle to just take over the game like he does. Next in the S tier, we have B. So even after another nerf to her Rattled Hive gadget, she still proves to be one of the best brawlers in the game. B just really packs a punch in the meta because of her hypercharge. It can really just allow her to just completely dominate, but it's still the rattled hype gadget that just gives her ultimate control. I think for her to be removed from the S tier, they probably need to nerf the damage or something along those lines, because she's too versatile, too good at shutting down so many different options in Brawl, in Gem Grab, in Hot Zone, Clean Duty, whatever game mode you're playing, any control base that's outside of Knockout and Bounty. B is your brawler. So now moving into the best 5 brawlers in the game right now. Starting off at number 5, it is Chester. So Chester received another hypercharge rate nerf, and it's still not enough to knock him from the S tier, because the hypercharge super itself is completely busted. I kind of wish Supercell would actually fix a lot of these hypercharges that are just broken mechanically, instead of just giving them hypercharge rate nerfs. I know it's a good quick fix, but it's just a hypercharge super itself with Chester. It's one of the longest charging ones as well. It takes 4 supers to get, but it just one-shots pretty much everything in the game. And it's also the chaining potential that I don't like with the hypercharges. Like, you can just throw this onto one tank. By the time it hits someone with the poison cloud, etc., you've got another one. You can throw it onto the next person, and then once you hit them, you throw it onto the next. But you just equals a team wipe in so many different situations. That's why he's so busted. And of course, there's a tank counter with a lot of the assassins becoming really strong in the meta. He's got even better. So now moving into the 4th best brawler in the game right now, I went with it Jae Young, and a lot of people were underestimating this brawler. I've seen a lot of content creators underestimating him, but me myself, I knew he was going to be an S tier brawler in the meta, just purely because of his versatility. As a support brawler that with his main attack that can speed up him and his team is just absolutely insane. And then every 7 seconds you automatically get your super for free, giving you and your teammates a mini max speed or a little bit of a heal buff. And then on top of that, he's a support brawler that can just deal some insane burst damage as well through a wall as well with his damage gadget. So although he may lack absolutely like a ton of DPS, he's a support brawler. He's not going to be able to do team wipes and etc. But with a good team, Jae Young is so incredibly strong. You compare him with pretty much everything. It reminds me of just a better version of Max at the moment. And without a hypercharge, I'm pretty scared once Jae Young gets a hypercharge how broken he'll be. But he's got to be easily one of the most underrated brawlers in the game, because I'm still not seeing randoms pick Jae Young, even though he's so good. So I'm moving into the 3rd best brawler in the game right now. We've got our Milky Boy Hank. He still is one of the best brawlers in the game. He had the 2nd most played / banned rate in monthly finals not too long ago. And even in this meta, he received no nerfs, which was just crazy to me, because the thing about Hank, right, is that he's been terrible for a long time, but Supercell were really reluctant to buff him, because you remember upon release he was very toxic with his main attack. But it's the same issue right now, so he can just charge up a 4.2k bubble, which just pressures the enemy just with his main attack, which is crazy. And then the thing is with Hank, you literally hit one of those shots, maybe even 2, and you've got your first super. It's impossible for people to get close to you. Normally, Hank, you should try and get close to him, try and counter him, interrupt his bubble. Well, it doesn't matter if you get close to him. Well, he's got a big shield gadget that can defend himself. He's got a super that deals insane damage up close, and then it heals him on top of that. So he doesn't even, like, if you're a good Hank player, you never have to stand still and fully heal up. You're always charging up your bubble, and you're always getting good pressure. And then a hypercharge on top of that is pretty good. Pros were even playing Hank on the most disgustingly open maps. They're playing him on out in the open. They're playing him on all these open maps, and he was still working. He's so broken, guys. You need to play him. So now we're going to be moving into the 2nd best brawler in the game right now. A lot of people may say he's the best brawler in the game. Just missing out, in my opinion. It is Kenji. Kenji is completely busted thanks to his hypercharge. So without it, he was like a low B tier brawler in the meta. He still was okay, but he just wasn't played by pros because of better options. But now, thanks to his hypercharge, that charges quite quickly on top of a really good healing gadget, on top of a good damage deflecting star power, he just becomes this really annoying assassin. I can't wrap my head around Kenji's hypercharge. It's completely broken. It's a Tara super from the air that is unavoidable. The area that it covers is just insane. And then on top of that, you teleport to the spot. Not only, like, you should probably just get the kill anyways with a hypercharge, but it just deals insane damage. You land on top of them. They're just all disorientated. You're just spamming. You also get the heal on top of the hypercharge super. It's broken. Completely and utterly busted. There's nothing you can do to counter it. Kenji is done broken in this meta. Okay, so now moving on to the best brawler in the game right now. I went with Lumi. It seems like the boring option, but Lumi, the balance changes. I knew we were going to do absolutely nothing to her, but didn't fix a few key problems that makes Lumi so good. They nerfed her gadget cooldown, which was a good nerf, but still the gadget itself is really, really good. They nerfed her HP, but they didn't nerf her just being able to spam out her main attack, and also the slow star power on top of that. It makes her such a toxic brawler that can just deal insane damage on the recall as well. Again, it's the fact that Lumi was pretty much banned. Well, she banned every single game except for one in monthly finals, and then she was picked the game that she weren't banned, and she didn't receive any meaningful nerfs. She's just so versatile. so annoying. You can even just leave your main attacks on the ground and you just automatically get in control, because anyone wants to get close to them, you can recall them, slow them, and just destroy them. So Luma is easily the best brawler in the game, in my opinion. Way too versatile. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed. So you can see the tier list on the screen. I've included Kaze here because, well, she's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks' time, and I think she's going to be absolutely disgustingly broken. I didn't want to talk about that too much, but yeah, how can't she be broken? But that's going to be it, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know whether there's anything that should have been changed. And again, make sure to check out Boss, Luki, and Semantics, links in the description below. And if you like me collaborating with some pros, also let me know what other pro team you want next. Maybe SK, maybe Tribe, NA, maybe another team like that. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.